Hey, everybody, welcome into Warp Factor 10, our show about all things Star Trek here on the Arena Productions. I'm your host, Expat, and along with me on the bridge, Burley. Burley, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. And yeah, we were so excited for this to drop, and it dropped early. Yeah, because
Yeah.
we thought episode 7 was going to come out on Thursday, but they dropped it during the weekend. So yeah, we have a double dose this week. We have this episode, and then of course episode 8 is going to be airing this coming Thursday. So yeah, they moved the season up a week. So yeah, looking forward to it. And yeah, just want to let everybody know that this is a spoiler-filled episode. Of course, our recap and discussion of those old scientists, the crossover episode between Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks. So let's jump into it, Burley. So if you have not watched the episode yet, please go and watch it on Paramount Plus, and then come back and enjoy this recap and discussion because there will be spoilers throughout. So that's your spoiler warning. So let's go ahead and jump in. And it's interesting how it starts off. It's just like in Lower Decks.
Yep.
It's like, so Mariner and Boimler, they're talking about this little mission they're going to go on. And Mariner is the head of this mission. And when I heard that, I'm like, uh-oh.
So that raised red flags for you too. Yeah.
Yeah. And Rutherford and Tendi are going with them. And so they find this portal, obviously, and they're doing research on it and everything. Rutherford's doing research. And then it's interesting how Boimler and Tendi get into this argument here about who actually discovered this portal. And of course, Boimler's trying to tell her, oh, it's the Enterprise and Pike's Enterprise. They discovered it. And Tendi's like, no, us Orions, we discovered it. The Orion scientists. So I thought that was
pirates.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like you pirates, no, because in that time, yeah, it's like they don't really say pirates. And then of course, he's messing around doing his best Spock. And then as they're taking the picture, the portal opens up. Yeah, and and then he goes and he gets sucked through the portal there. So, and Mariner doesn't get there in time to save him. And then obviously we get Jack Quaid, the real life Boimler here, and he's on the other side of the portal. And of course he meets up, with Spock and Number One and La'an. So yeah, I really and then of course he passes out. But yeah, I thought that was really funny, and I really loved how they started the episode with, for example, the Enterprise. How it's going through space there, but it's in the Lower Decks type of cartoonish style. And then of course you have that like big alien worm that's like attached to the nacelle, like in Lower Decks at the beginning of each episode. So I thought that was really cool. So what about you, Burley?
Oh, I loved it. And like one thing I was a little worried is like how are they going to do with the animation and then cutting to the live action.
Yeah,
I was curious to see how they did it, and you know what, I think they did it quite well.
yes, yeah, I thought it was really good. And then of course here the image of Boimler's communicator, of course his Delta badge. And it's interesting how Pike and them were saying, well, ours, they flip open, those are better. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. And yeah, and then we get the scene, of course, of Boimler waking up in sick bay and everything. And La'an is, I like this shot of La'an here because she's basically like really skeptical about this guy. Is like, is this guy really from the future? Because obviously in the episode Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, she actually, traveled through time. So she's kind of either conflicted or she's like not buying any of this.
Yeah, she's very, very skeptical. And you can't, of time travel, and you can't blame her for the event she had. But I love it because, like, when he wakes up, he's like, "You're Captain Pike." He's like touching it. He's like, "Okay," and holodeck, because he instantly has to go. It's a holodeck.
Yeah, computer in program. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, this isn't. and like you can see Pike and all of them. They're like, "What the hell is wrong with this kid?"
Yeah, what the hell's wrong with him? But he's like, and then I love that part. Pike's like, exactly how far into the future, or are you from in the future? And he says, give or take 120 years. And then Pike says to him, well, you don't look a day over 100. Ha 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 ha. That was pretty funny. Yeah. So, yeah. So we go on here. Obviously, they're talking about not breaking any protocols when it comes to time travel and everything. And I like this one here. He's like, Worf's honor, not Scout's honor, but Worf's honor. Oh gosh darn it! Yeah, a Worf reference. So I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was good. Like the thing is with this, they're doing it. They're dropping little Easter eggs and little stuff for longtime Star Trek fans will know.
Yeah.
And just to get, oh, they're referencing that. I love this. It's like,
yes,
they're doing giving like a pretty much a good love letter to Star Trek fans.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah, it was really cool. So, and then of course Boimler, in Pike's, I guess in the ready room or whatever, and he's on the saddle there, and he meets Uhura there, and it's like Uhura probably thinks this guy's really, really crazy. But yeah, it's cool how they had their first little conversation there. So about how much of a workaholic she is, and then Boimler getting, of course, all tech nerdy here, wanting to check out this tricorder that M'Benga is carrying and everything. And he said, they were mentioning the fact, I think it was Boimler mentioning that it doesn't explode, or something like that.
No, these ones are great. The new ones are like smaller and all this. Doesn't have the 20% chance or whatever it was to explode.
Yeah.
And M'Benga's like, explode? What are you talking about? And then the whole thing was Spock laughing here.
Oh yeah, that was really good. Yeah, and then it's like Boimler's like, whoa. Boimler just started freaking out. It's like, Spock, he's laughing. Oh my god, it's like that never happened. That never happened.
I love how he goes. I love how he goes to M'Benga. Is this a regular occurrence? No.
Yeah.
Something new.
Yeah. And so we get the Orion vessel here, and obviously, when Boimler comes on, he's like, "Oh, that's a science vessel. I made one and have it in a bottle or something like that." And then Pike is like, because pirates, Orion pirates have been spotted throughout this part of the quadrant. And, Boimler is trying to convince him that, no, it's a peaceful vessel, Captain. And basically these Orions, they beam up the portal, and you can see Pike's face here. They beam up the portal and take off. So basically they're like pirates, right? And then, Pike's like, why did I listen to this guy?
Yeah, that was such a great little thing because Pike he's falling into it. He says it later in the episode. He's like, this guy is a fan of his, a huge fan, and Pike is trying to show off that he can do this, he can do this, and he's like, I listened to this kid, I let him get into my head, I screwed this one up.
Yeah, and I love how of course Ortegas and of course Nurse Chapel come up from behind, and he does the typical Boimler like like scream, and they're messing with him, talking about the poisoning from the time travel and stuff like that, and with the Herodium and stuff like that. So yeah, she's telling him, just watch out for that, the vomiting and all that stuff, and just messing with him and everything, and he's like, are you messing with me or what? Yeah. So
yes, I love that they're just messing with him.
And then Spock looking at Nurse Chapel, and it's like just completely freaks out Boimler again. What Spock? What are you doing? And then I love in the turbo lift here. He's trying to tell Nurse Chapel without telling her. Look, the Spock that I know, he has to be the Spock that he is, in my time, for things to work out the way they do, and like, is it me that's influencing him? And it's like, oh my God, is it me that's influencing him? And then Nurse Chapel's pretty much, no, it's like, he's been doing this before you came here. So good stuff.
All right.
Yeah. So
I love the dialogue between them because she has the realization there, and I don't think it's so much with what he is saying, but she knows in her heart, he's got to go back to being the way he is, and you get that dour moment with her on her face, showing, and it's like, oh,
yeah. And then Boimler's on the bridge again, of course. He's trying to tell them, I know how to track the Orions, but of course that would be, taking use of future tech. And so Pike and them are like turned around, so they're not watching what he's doing. So I thought that was pretty funny.
I love that. And you got Ortega's just looking over every couple of seconds. She's turning her head because she's like, I don't care. This is just too funny.
Yeah. Ortega's, she was having some fun with this, and so, and then of course the Orions are puzzled as to how they were able to track them down and everything, and so they come to the agreement that there's all these grain boxes or whatever on the ship that the Orions had scanned before, and so they decided to make a trade to get the portal back. So they were able to try to get Boimler back to his own time. And so obviously Boimler is going to go into the portal because they have enough power for just one trip, and then obviously look who comes through. So she's like, she comes through because she thinks I have to go in there to get him, and now everybody is stuck. Now instead of one time traveler, there's two time travelers. So what did you think of this, Burley?
Yeah, I was surprised because we're finally getting her in, because this is like halfway through the episode. This is like 20 minutes of the 48-minute episode. Yeah. So it's like, it is quite longer. I thought she was going to be in quite earlier. So this was a little surprise to me. But I do love that she comes in and Boiler's like, no, we need to try to kind of grab her to go through the portal. And she's typical Mariner. She's like, I don't know why.
Yeah, and I love the part where she's saying to Boimler, I didn't realize how hot Spock is, young Spock is, the hair, the ears, all that stuff, stuff like that. That was pretty cool. Yeah. And so then, Pike is like, oh my goodness. And then of course he smiles there again, and then that's what Mariner's like, just like Boimler, oh my God, what the hell's wrong with Spock? I love that part. Yeah. And then they're talking about, of course, the situation with the portal here and all. And I just love the the back and forth between them, just like on Lower Decks. And then I love this part with Una, coming up, and then obviously Mariner starts to explain to her about this poster that Boimler has pinned up of her on his bunk. I love that part.
Oh yeah, she's like, pin up poster. Yeah, because she's like,
it's a poster that's pinned up.
I love that, and I love the meeting with the two of the when they have both Mariner and Boimler. Pike's like, we got to figure this out, but can't hurt having you guys talk to the ship any more than all the other damage you've already done.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and then I love the back and forth between Mariner and Uhura, and I loved in the meeting room. It's like Mariner was saying to Boimler, it's like I have to meet Uhura. Don't mess this up or I'll kill you. Or something like that. Right. And then Boimler should go and work with Spock. Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny. But anyway, Mariner gets her wish and gets to meet Uhura, and they're sitting there, and talking to each other, and of course Mariner's trying to explain in a way not to reveal anything about the future, but it's like everybody knows who you are, and things like that, and and Uhura is trying to figure out, how am I supposed to do all this stuff and still be this alien linguistic, badass, and I just, and then I love that part where Mariner just gets up and it goes, it's time to take a break, and then Uhura's like, I don't take breaks, and then Mariner's like, typical Mariner, yeah, I noticed that, and then she's like, do you know anything about Starfleet labor law, the labor codes? And then she mentions one of the labor codes where, the officers, they have to take breaks at certain intervals to eat and all, and she could report her and everything. And so obviously Uhura gives in and goes with Mariner. But yeah, I love the conversation here between the two of them. I thought that was really cool. So
oh yeah, that conversation was great. And just having, just tricking Uhura to get her to take a break, and she's like, fine, I'll give you 5 minutes to have a quick break, and then I'm going back to stuff. And of course they got to go to the bar.
Yeah,
and Mariner goes behind the bar and serving up drinks. I love it.
Yeah, and I love this part here when they're drinking the Orion Hurricanes or something like that. It is interesting how you see on the pad here a little bit of a reference. Uhura was looking at the linguistics of Cardassians and of Bajorans. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was really interesting. So a little bit of a nod to Deep Space Nine, maybe, with Cardassians and Bajorans and things like that. So, she's researching those languages and all. Finally they figure out, due to Ortegas running into somebody at a starbase, that the Nausicaans had, of course, created that particular language that's on the that's on the portal, and so they had to decipher what it says. And then, of course, here we go with Spock and Boimler again. I love this. They're trying to conjure up some neurodium, and didn't work out very well, did it, Burley?
No, it did not work very well. They tried putting both their minds together, and it was fun to watch. But I love as they're doing it, Spock, like, just grills them, and then reminds them of, like, what did you say to Nurse Chapel? She came to me upset.
Yeah,
and all this.
And and Boimler saying to him, well, I mean, it's just that, the Spock that we know in my time, we need that Spock, because the things that happen in our time, we need to have the Spock that is Spock, So he was just weirded out that Spock was, showing, more of his human side, I guess you could say. But
yeah.
So, but that didn't work out. And then, of course, the meeting with Boimler and Pelia. I like that, she was, telling him about herself, and, that she's lived for thousands of years and everything. And yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And then, of course, we get the shuttlecraft here. And obviously, Mariner is going to be waiting for him in the shuttlecraft, and so freaks him out there. And they're going to, of course, try to send a message to the Orions, because now Boimler wants to help people in this time, because he's worried that those colonists would not be able to get the grain. So, but I guess Uhura had intercepted their communications before they could get it out. And of course, guess who's there to arrest them is La'an. Yeah.
I love that they're thinking, they're going to be too preoccupied doing this. We do this sneakily, we're not going to get caught. 5 seconds after they say that, they've been caught.
Boom. Yeah. Boom. And now we get to my favorite part of the episode here. Of course, Pike is saying he's going to confine them to quarters, and then obviously Mariner is saying, "Oh, it's all my fault and everything," and Boimler, he's just he's a big fan of yours, and he dressed up like you for Halloween and all, and all the jawline stuff was kind of tricky and all. But the fact that Pike was mentioning, of course, because Boimler throughout the episode, he had mentioned to, I think, Nurse Chapel and Ortegas that his birthday was coming up, and that he made the mistake of saying that, Pike's birthday is a holiday in his time, And it's interesting how now Pike had found out about the fact that he's been going around trying to, you know, throw out the idea to his crew members about throwing a birthday party for him. And the fact that he doesn't want that because of the fact now that this particular year he's going to be older than his father was when he passed away, when his father passed away. And obviously it's interesting how, you know, Boimler saying you never know how many more years you might have left, and like, you know, Mariner's like, Boimler, no, you know, and Pike just stops him, and it's like, I already know what's going to happen to myself, and that kind of shocked them. And then he's like, you know, explaining about his, you know, the fact that him and his father never got along, and they were never able to resolve it, and that he was going to go to, you know, go to this moon, I think it was, and take a bottle of scotch or something, and just you know, sit there and have a communication with his father, so to speak. And then I loved what Boimler said. It's like, but you know, what about those people that are on the ship here that you know, if you're not going to be here anymore, those people might have wanted to spend an extra day with you, you know. And that really got to Pike, you know. And yeah, I thought that was a great moment, and a great moment for Boimler and Mariner as well, you know, talking with you know, Captain Pike. How did you feel about that?
I like that. You've got that, and like Pike admits, like, yeah, he kind of knows his future. So I like that they're trying to skate around it, yeah. But Pike just basically like, yeah, I already know I'm gonna die, and how my end goes and all that. I like the back and forth between them. It was such a great scene.
Yeah.
And I agree, this was the best part of the episode.
Yeah, and then of course Pike mentions the, you know, it would have been, he sympathizes with them about, you know, being back in time and all, and then he brings up the fact that, you know, I wonder how I would have felt if I would have been on, you know, Archer's Enterprise, you know, the NX-01. You know, kind of the same situation, you know, because, you know, the Archer's Enterprise, the NX-01, that was a little over 100 years, you know, to the time we're in now with Strange New Worlds. So, you know, of course, Strange New Worlds, you know, the 1701 is like about 120 years from where, you know, the Lower Decks crew is. So, and then obviously that gives Boimler the idea because of the NX-01 being brought up, you know, because part of the hull was, you know, Heronium was used in part of the hull of the NX-01. And yeah, so we have the scene here with them explaining this, because of the fact that every new starship with the ship from the, you know, that had the name that of the previous ship, that the previous ship, the very a piece of that ship was of course, you know, used for the beginning of the construction of the new ship. And so we get the, you know, the piece of the bottle of Heronium, which is in engineering, which of course Mariner knew where it was. And it's funny, like at the end of that meeting there, it's like, I actually paid attention. And then Spock is like, that is surprising because she normally doesn't pay attention, you know. So I love the references to the, you know, the Enterprise show, of course, with the NX-01, and of course, you know, the person who flew the ship, I think his name is Mayweather. His name was brought up, and then of course Hoshi Sato's name was brought up by Uhura because she had spoken 86 different languages, and that she had written 3 different papers about Hoshi Sato when she was at the academy. So lots of, you know, references to Enterprise in this episode. I thought that was really cool. So.
Oh yeah, well they had a lot of references to all the different shows, but like you said, yeah, Enterprise. It was a nice, this episode, just a lot of love letters to Star Trek fans.
And then, of course, Mariner's trying to explain, you know, the situation again to number 1 about the poster. And then Boimler finally hears what she said and comes up to her and says, hey, that was, that poster, Ad Astra per Aspera, that's what made me sign up for Starfleet, and then that really shocked number one that that they actually put that Ad Astra per Aspera on the poster with her. So yeah, of course the reference to the second episode of the season. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. And then obviously Spock, like live long and prosper, Mr. Boimler. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. And then Boimler just, like slurring his words, as he's leaving, And then the end, we get the Orions again here. And I love the part where, Mariner and Boimler are explaining to the Orion that, like one of our crew members, her great grandmother is on your ship. Like a like Astra Tendi or something like that, the Tendi. And the Orion guy's like, I have an Astra Tendi on my ship. How do you know that? And I love just Mariner's like, we were just explaining. We're time travelers. It's like he doesn't listen to it. I just love how Mariner's, Mariner is Mariner there. Tawny Newsom,
oh, yeah.
she's awesome. So anyway, they get the portal started up again because now that the Orions can now claim that they discovered, of course, the portal, and they're not going to be branded as pirates, but as scientists, and so they accepted that and they let them use the portal again, and this time they're able to go back. And I like the ending here where Boimler, after Mariner goes through, takes one last look at Pike, and Pike looks back at him. I thought that was a really cool scene, and then of course they get back, and Rutherford and Tendi are waiting for him, and it's like Mariner mentions, Tendi's great grandmother's name to her, and he's like, "How did you know her name?" And then the poster there, Ad Astra per Aspera. And then at the very end here, of course, we get the the Strange New Worlds crew, of course, Pike's Enterprise in Lower Decks cartoon form. And I thought that was pretty cool because during the episode, Mariner was, when she was serving the cocktails, to Ortegas and to Uhura, she was saying it was basically a watered down version, these Orion hurricanes or whatever. And then she's like saying the real stuff, I mean, that'll just really mess you up. And that's basically what they have here, and you can see like Spock's arm is like all flipping out. They're all hallucinating and everything. And M'Benga's
my eyes more bulging than normal.
Yeah, and then M'Benga's like, what the hell is in this stuff? Yeah. And then we finish up the episode. But yeah, I mean, such a great episode. And I loved, like you were saying, the transition between the animation and the real life characters. I think it was awesome, like the beginning and the end. And then of course we get the Strange New Worlds crew in animation form, like Lower Decks. I thought it was really cool. I would love to see them do more of these type of episodes. And honestly, I would love to see Lower Decks become a real life for example, series. Like Tawny Newsom would be Mariner, Jack Quaid would be Boimler, and have the real life voice actors do the characterizations and have a real show like Strange New Worlds. I would love to see where that would go. But yeah, it was a fun episode and I really enjoyed it. Your final thoughts, Burley?
I really enjoyed this. This was another great episode. And I would love to see them do live action for Lower Decks as well. That'd be great. And as I said earlier, it blended well between the animation and going to live action. And then at the end, just ending with the Strange New Worlds cast in the animation, even though you only get it for like less than a minute, it was just pure gold. Just
it was perfect.
Great way. It was a great way to end this episode because, like, okay, you sent them back to their time. Yeah, you go back with them in Lower Decks time, but you gotta. It's like, okay, we're gonna end there. No, we're gonna go back to the Strange New Worlds cast and have them, sit there drinking, lounging, and then just them in the animation stuff. It was just a great, fun way to end the episode.
Yeah, and it was cool how Pike took Boimler's advice and let them celebrate his birthday together. So I thought that was pretty cool. So Yeah. So anyway, this episode, of course, it will be going ad-free to our Patreon over at patreon.com/The Arena Productions. So all of our content over there, please check out our Marvel, our Star Trek, our Star Wars, and our video game podcast. We put up ad-free, and we also have exclusive content there. So please come and check us out over on Patreon. So yeah, a lot of our Star Trek stuff is over there as well, and you can watch it ad-free. Yeah. So anyway, I've been your host, Expat, along with my co-host, Burley. We hope to catch you in the next episode of Warp Factor 10, our show about all things Star Trek here on the Arena Productions. And we'll be doing our episode 8 recap and discussion of Star Trek Strange New Worlds later on this week. So please stay tuned for that. So anyway, take care, everyone. Live long and prosper. Peace out.
Bye, everyone.